We got to mix the mission statement with the idea that everything is relevant. Our stand-up is relevant. Living in New York is relevant because it's all how to deal with day-to-day life.
Yeah.
Is that generally it? Yeah. And how the littlest things in the world ruin your whole outlook on life just because of one day when it's really not that big of a deal, but we've got to find a way to deal with our fucking anger, basically.
Yeah.
We're not taping a movie. Welcome to the Power of How. We're a podcast, not a movie. Just want to make that clear up front. You had to be there. Inside joke. Come see us.
Yeah.
At the Jester Castle in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, October 6th and 7th.
Heck yeah.
Never been there. Dying to check it out. Love Philadelphia. And give us $1 or so. What is it? What is our Patreon?
Patreon.com/thepowerofhowpodcast.
There you go. It's a lot of typing, but then all you have to do is hit $1. Give more if you have it. But everybody should be donating a little bit. And I'll leave you at that. Let's give you something for free. This is free for a little bit longer until you pledge. We're in big trouble as far as a society. On the way here, and I'm a much more calm person lately, I've noticed.
Yeah.
Maybe it's old age. Maybe it's the mushrooms I took in fucking Mexico. But this is the type of morning that would put me in a bad mood well into the podcast, but like I'm able to shut it off better now. I don't know why. We need Daniel back.
I know.
For this kind of analysis.
Absolutely.
Daniel will be back hopefully next week.
Next week, yeah.
So you get on the train and the person next to me is blasting music, TikTok out of their phone. So I go very calmly, all right, I could sit here and stew with this, or I could go to the other end of the train. I go to the other end of the train. There's like 3 more people. It's even worse. Just like noise pollution.
Yeah.
Just all this phone. I go to get this coffee across the street. I walk in. I'm the only person in the coffee shop. And there's 3 people behind the counter all on their phones.
Yeah, no one looks at you.
They're just looking at the phone. I sit there for like 5, 6, 7, 8 seconds. And then I just go, how you doing? It just fucking snapped too. Upside, only $3.50 for this latte.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Especially here. That happened to me because I'm on McDougal a lot, obviously doing mics and shows and stuff down there. And there's a great place where you can get relatively healthy food for pretty cheap.
Yeah.
And I go there probably once a week. Because I used to go to Popeyes, but because it was just like, tastes like,
that was
reminds
when you
me
were
of
on
home.
a diet. Yeah.
And I was just like, I got to stop doing it. Because every time I ate it, I was like, I feel sick because I don't eat fast food. And
Would you just slow down for a second and talk about how good Popeyes is?
It's so good.
It's the best shit in the world. And somehow it's great in New York. It's even better in the South. Mm-hmm. It's at its apex in Louisiana.
I was going to say, that's where it's from.
Some fresh chicken. And on Friday afternoon, payday, the line is around the goddamn restaurant and
so
all the way to
good.
the Mississippi River.
Well, when I got that settlement, and I talk about it in my one-man show, but one of the things, because I didn't have a car.
10% went to Popeyes.
So I didn't have a car, and the closest thing, because I was in downtown Daytona, the closest thing within walking distance was a Burger King and a Popeyes, and obviously Popeyes is better, so I'd go there all the time. So it's almost like a nostalgic thing where I was like, every Wednesday after 2 of the 4 mics I would do, I'd go over and get lunch at the Popeyes. Yeah. And I was like, I got to stop doing this. So I started going to this other place. And probably in the last 2 or 3 months, almost every time I walk in, it's a younger guy at the counter. It's got to be the son of somebody or something, or the nephew. He's on his phone every time. And every single time, the guy in the back who's like doing all the cooking, who's older, is like, hey.
There's one person here.
Yeah. And then he looks up and he goes, oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were the other person that worked here. And I was like, the other person that works here is there. Like, what?
Why don't you use that map app and figure the fuck out where I am?
But it's insane because it's like you can't hear the other person in the back working. Like, you're so entrenched in your phone.
Because the phone sucks you in. You're in a different world.
Yeah, and and I was like, okay, man. And like the first time I'm like, whatever, who cares? The second time I'm like, by the third time I'm like, this has to be the related to someone who owns this place because this is a horrible worker.
Yeah, but it doesn't necessarily have to be.
Yeah,
because that's just the standard.
Yeah.
For especially young people now, just like they're just on their phones.
Yeah.
There's nothing to do.
Well, and I mean,
about
I get super mad at work sometimes but I've grown, especially since starting this show. I've grown to, and we've talked about it. But you know, I have 3 different podcasts. I'm doing stand up and then I also have to work. So a lot of times at work in a lull, I will like glance at my phone. And if it's like you, like, hey, can you record at this time? Or Daniel or my other podcast, like trying to book a guest. It's like, it doesn't stop just because I'm at work.
Yeah.
In fact, it actually ramps up because I'm at work from like 5 to 10. And that's when people are getting off their day jobs and like trying to schedule stuff.
Right.
And one of my managers sometimes will be like, Brennan, enough with the phone. And I used to like throw it down and be like, I'm running a business here. And now a lot of times what I'll do is I'll leave it in my locker or I'll like leave it in my jacket and then I'll like go to the bathroom to check it and stuff. Yeah. But I understand it, but I used to get so mad. I used to be like, I moved to New York to try and make it. Yeah. I've got 3 different podcasts. Like I have to look at my phone. Like I'm one of the best servers here.
Yeah.
Like I don't take away from my tables. Like don't tell me not to look at my phone.
Yeah.
And then I was like, oh, that's just a battle you're not going to win. But it does make me like when the manager's on their phone telling me to get off my phone, I'm like, fuck you, man.
No, if it makes you feel any better, I was the same way in Los Angeles when I moved there. For like 10 years or so, I had this office job on and off, and I would just use it as my office. And when people hit me up for something for like business that I was getting paid for, I'm like, oh, Jesus, man. I'm just about to book this gig in fucking New Mexico.
Can this wait? I got something to do. I got to book some shows.
But you reminded me when we were talking about Popeyes. It happened to me on the way back from Atlantic City, too. I stopped. It's one of the only times I will eat Burger King is on the New Jersey like Turnpike or New Jersey. For whatever reason, those rest stops like really appeal to me. Because we used to go to New Jersey when I was a kid, and fast food and childhood, it's all tied in. That's their business model.
Yeah.
But there I am, like paying $15 for like a combo meal.
Yeah.
And I'm the only one again. And my burger is just sitting there.
You see it.
It's just sitting there. And the fries are always ready to go.
Yeah.
And I got 2 people on their phones just like texting. And I'm just like, at that point, I was just doing the old, I'll just see how long this takes.
Yeah.
Because it's Burger King and you don't really want it anyway.
Well, and that's the other thing too is like, there's sometimes, and I've learned to do this, especially being in New York. In Florida, I would never do this because in the South, it's considered like rude.
Yeah.
But like I'll walk into a place and if I see it's like one person and they don't really give a shit and they're not moving with any sense of urgency and there's like 2 or 3 people in line, I'll just turn around and walk out.
Yeah.
I'll be like, I don't have time.
I almost did the walkout this morning at the coffee place, but I was like, they're not even going to notice.
Yeah, they won't.
Fuck 'em.
So what's the point?
It doesn't do any good.
But sometimes I'll do that, especially in New York. I'll be like, there's like 7 other places I can eat right next door, so I'll just walk out.
Right. It was satisfying because it was dead quiet in there, no music or anything. And they can hear me breathing. I don't know how they can.
I can.
And I'm just like, how you doing? Oh shit! And then the other 2, they stayed on the phone, and then eventually came over to like take my money.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like they still were on a delay. It was crazy. And I'm not one of these assholes. Like I understand that. You might not want to be there.
Yeah, and it's a boring job. Like there's hour lulls in between customers.
But on the other hand, you got to treat me like a human being. Like I'm here.
That's true. And that's the other thing. I don't know if I mentioned it on this podcast, but since moving to New York, I was trying this and it did not work. I tried it twice and then I was like, Brennan, this isn't you. Stop doing this. But I was trying to be more New Yorker-y. Mm-hmm. So like I would go to the Rite Aid under my apartment and everything's locked at this Rite Aid.
Oh yeah.
Everything. It's not like one of the, like the CVS by my old house, my old apartment, like a lot of stuff was locked, but not everything. This one, almost everything is locked. Even the like energy drinks are behind, like they locked the thing. And so I remember I was like a month into living in my new apartment. I went there and I had to get like 3 different things, but all locked, all in different aisles. And I asked this guy if he could help me. And he was like, yeah, absolutely. And then he just went back to his closing stuff, like doing the trash and stuff. And I was like, can we And he goes, yeah, I'll be right there. I'll meet you over there. And I stood there for like 30 seconds, and then I turned around and walked out. And as I was walking, he was like, no, I have the keys. And I go, you know what, man? Just forget it. You obviously have stuff going on. And everyone that worked there like looked at me like, you piece of shit. And I was like, I just wanted to get my stuff. He's the one who's taking his time.
And also, now there's multiple people judging you.
Yeah.
Where were the multiple people before? They're all like peeking out.
Where were all these people? Yeah. And they're looking at me like titled piece of gar. And I was like, and I did it one other time. I think at the Popeyes. And then I was like, this isn't like, I was like, hey, can I get like some help?
Right.
And then everyone looks at you like, hey, asshole. And I was like, you know what? Never. And that's the thing that does kind of bother me. It's like, if you say something, even because I am very, like, I'll say it in the most polite, like, excuse me, can I have some help?
Yeah.
And they're like, fuck you. And it's like, why am I the dickhead now?
I don't know. It's because people don't make enough money at these jobs.
No, not
so they
at
don't
all.
give a fuck.
Yeah. I mean, I worked at, my first job was at McDonald's. I've worked at Wendy's. And I remember I was telling Tracy, my girlfriend, that when I first started at McDonald's, I made $6.50 instead of $6 an hour.
Yeah.
Because I got an extra 50 cents for doing the opening morning shift.
Yeah.
And she was like, because this is the South too, where minimum wage is way less.
Right.
And she was like, what? And I was like, yeah, like I was balling out of control at $6.50.
You were, though.
But it's interesting now because, you know, everyone talks about making minimum wage $15, and that's what it is in New York. But I know in the South, I have friends that I still talk to, and we were like, God, if we had to pay our employees $15 an hour when we were working in fast food, we'd fire everyone and hire new employees because, like, they don't work for like. And we were like, there's no way,
right?
And I wouldn't have. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But like I took it seriously. Like I'm at McDonald's, like in the drive-thru, like, thank you so much for choosing our McDonald's.
No, man, you are the person I want to run into.
There's so many people
you
who are
can
like,
bag on yourself all you want for checking your phone at work.
Yeah.
I don't buy it.
Well,
I know your own.
That's
point.
why I get so mad, because I'm like, who are you talking to?
Yeah.
Like, just look at all the 5-star. And the mistake they make is they post the 5-star reviews, and I'm in like 3 or 4 of them.
Right.
Like Brennan, our server, was fantastic. Brennan is so awesome. He knew everything. And I'm like, look at the reviews.
It's like Airplane. You're like, I'm at that table right now. And you look and you're there. How did he do it? He is good. This kid is fucking good. Let him be on his phone. Fuck it. It's working. He just Uber Eated that guy a meal.
Oh, it's funny. Sometimes when tables are like, I'll send stuff out to the table because, you know, you have to anticipate what your guests need. So sometimes I'll have stuff being sent out to the table. Like, so I'll be standing at the table and they'll be like, can I get and then the food runner will come out with like ketchup and sauces and stuff. And they'll be like, can I get a ketchup? And I go, yeah, it's right here. And they go, how do you do? And I go, I could run this entire section from the back of the restaurant. Like, I don't, all I need from you people is your order. Like, I can do everything else.
Yeah.
Like, I've been doing this a long time.
Yeah, man.
But still, don't be on your phone.
Yeah, well, listen, everyone was fucking. I had a party last night.
Yeah.
And everybody was raving about your place of business. Like, people were fucking impressed that you worked there.
Yeah, it was kind of, that's what I love about it. It was kind of cool because I brought it up. And then someone was like, where do you work? And I said the name, and Zach was like, I love that place. Yeah. And he's like, that's why you look familiar. I knew. And part of me was like, oh, it's not because of comedy or my show or anything. Whatever. He's like, I'm there all the time. That's why you look familiar. Right. And I was like, yeah, I'm just not in the suit jacket, so I don't look the same. Yeah.
For his benefit, you should have wore it. Just so he knew who you were.
The cream color suit jacket. I'm saying too much. But yeah, it's really popular. I mean, people love it. And I like working there because it's just a restaurant. Mm-hmm. So like it is a very nice place, but behind everything, it's just people. Yeah. So like I'm very close with my executive chef. Him and I are very good friends. And so like if I have friends that come in, well, you saw when me and Daniel went, like they just send stuff out. Yeah. Because they're like, you know, we're all friends. Right. So it's nice to be there when like people come in that I can take, like comics and stuff that I can take care of. Yeah, man. Well, I've been getting fascinated with that line of work just off of 2 things: the Anthony Bourdain book, and The Bear. Yeah. It's one of those things where it's like right in front of your face. It's when you realize that Led Zeppelin is cool. Yeah. You hear it your whole life, and then you're like, wait, this is fucking cool music. You listen to the lyrics, and you're like, fuck yeah, man. So it's always been there, and then. The people that work at these places are so interesting. Yeah. I mean, you know better than I do. Yeah. Especially once you get behind the curtain. Yeah. Once you get back in that kitchen. It's insane because, and I say it all and I have a friend, he's been on my podcast a bunch, my buddy Scott, you met Scott. And I was like, last time he came in, he was like, he went to into the kitchen and like was talking to the chef and stuff. And then like went into the office and was talking to the managers. And then my manager took me aside the next day and she's like, hey, like, we love Scott. We love him coming in, but maybe he doesn't go to the bag.
Sure.
And I go, yeah, he just watched the second season of The Bear. So now he's like, like you romantic. Because it's, if I wasn't doing comedy, I would be a career server. It's an awesome job.
Yeah.
And I love it. I get to make people's anniversaries and birthdays and graduations. Like, I get to make that a story where they go, yeah, remember that time we went to so-and-so for your birthday? And I love that aspect of it. And the food's fantastic. So, but it is one of these things where so many interesting stories. There's no background checks. There's no drug testing. So you get people from all sorts of walks of life.
Right.
Like me. I've been arrested 8 times.
Right.
Nobody asks any questions.
Right. That's almost like a fucking, like a good thing.
Yeah. It's like,
okay, this guy is serious.
He's got something to lose. Yeah.
This guy has patience.
Yeah. And it's so interesting, some of the people I work with, because you talk to them and, you know, obviously it's New York, so I work with a lot of immigrants and stuff, and it's fascinating. Like, I know how to say thank you now in 8 different languages because out of respect, like I try to say thank you to people in their native language.
Yeah.
So now I can say it in 8 different languages, and it's one of those things where, like, I learn little tidbits about, like, Bangladesh and Ecuador and Chile and like all these different places just from work. Because, you know me, I love stories. So I'll talk to people, be like, how many kids do you have? Where are you from? Oh, your wife's still over there, but she's coming over. And it is fascinating.
It sure
the
is,
kind of people I work with.
And something you said reminded me of Anthony Bourdain's book. He's like, one time, you know, he was in charge of the kitchen and his boss told him, you got to fire everybody with tattoos.
That's the kitchen.
He's like, dude, who's cooking the food? Like, I can depend on these guys.
Yeah.
Like, this is like half the city and you know, like, he doesn't even know where to go. He hired everybody he knew, in a sense, you know?
That's the other thing, too, is the thing I love about the kitchen, I know Bourdain talks about this, is that you will sort out the strong from the weak very quickly.
Right.
Like, so my rule is if we hire someone new, and this is probably a dumb rule, it's not even a rule, it's just kind of like a guideline, but like, I won't, as soon as someone's hired, especially if they're younger, I will not start addressing them as chef until I know that they're serious.
Right.
Because I say this all the time, there's a huge difference between a line cook and a chef. Like, a chef is someone who like really cares about what they're doing and they want to excel and, you know, progress in this profession. And then a line cook is someone collecting a paycheck. Yeah. And we have those 2 different kinds of people. But it's so interesting because as soon as like someone like goes to put something out and then realizes it doesn't look good, they'll pull it back and then like they'll fix it and then send it back out, and then I'll look at them and go, "Thanks, chef." And it's like
that's the moment.
Yeah, it's like a
credits
big,
roll.
Yeah.
Dude. Yeah, so you're almost probably getting it from both ends now. Like there is a sudden, it can't just be me. There is a sudden fascination.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Especially since The Bear came out.
Yeah. Since season 2 came out, so many people ask questions.
People are realizing it's like a military operation, what you do. And people are becoming
a French regime.
Fascinated with it because it's almost like a discovery in a way, and it's sad that it's a discovery, but it's like I eat at a restaurant at least once a day. This is what's happening for my convenience.
In every single restaurant.
Yeah.
It's a brigade. I said regime. It's called a French brigade. But that's everyone has their set stations. Everyone knows their station in and out. Yeah. And you don't mess with like when I go on the line, when any server goes on the line to ask chef a question or anything, you have to call like server on the line. Yeah. You have to address, chef, a quick question, blah, 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 blah. But and that's it, like every like higher end restaurant for sure. And even some lower end, like the Bear, like some lower end restaurants, you get some of those people in there from that walk of life, and that's how they treat it.
And then also, as I've been getting for many years, and you've been getting for many years, is like stand-up comedy questions. Yeah. Like I almost understand it now because I haven't been that curious about any other professions besides like a musician. Yeah, but I feel like my job is so similar to being a musician.
You've been in bands and stuff.
I've been in bands, so you kind of see like the similarities and stuff. Yeah. And so like my curiosity about that isn't so much because I play the same venues as bands and stuff like that. But you must get it all day long from like comedy. the fucking restaurant.
Yeah.
Like people, it's like a romance. I finally understand in a way why people are so interested in comedy, because I'm as fascinated as I am all of a sudden with the kitchen and the wait staff. Like, it scares me to do that job, because it does look like a difficult job to me, and it does look like on the spot, and it does. And no, so I know when people are asking me questions, they're fascinated by it, but they don't want to fucking do stand-up comedy.
No, yeah,
because it's really fucking scary to them.
Yeah.
And I kind of get that now. It's like, oh, you just want like a peek, just so you could know, because you know you're not going to.
You're never gonna.
Right.
My favorite is when people are like, so a couple things. Since going back to McDonald's, like we were talking about earlier, I've always been like, where does this come from? Like, where? And so whenever I go into a new restaurant, I will sit down with the chef if they'll allow it, and they always allow it, because they love it when servers are interested.
Right.
And I'm like, where do we order the beef from? Is it grass fed or corn fed or grain fed? Like, I know everything about everything in the kitchen, and I do that for my own benefit, because it's like going up for a set when you don't have a set list. When you're like, I'll just riff, and then you fucking drown on stage. It's the same thing as a server.
Yeah.
When someone goes, hey, I have a specific allergy, is there X, Y, and Z in this? And you're like,
Right.
Then you feel like an asshole. It's like, why are you tipping me if I don't know anything?
I got to go ask.
Yeah.
Which is like, it slows everything down.
Yeah, exactly. And so I've always been real big on knowing where everything comes from. And in the last 6 months since the Bears season 2 has premiered, because it didn't happen with the first season, because it was kind of a cult favorite almost. And then when the second season came out, everyone watched it. People are like, so is this grass-fed or corn-fed? What farms do you get it from? Is it free range? Is it? And I'm like, okay. But then I'm like, let's go.
But you got it.
How many questions do you have? Yeah. And people are so fascinated by how it's even prepared now and stuff. And I put my foot in my mouth sometimes, because sometimes, you get busy, you get backed up, and there's this movie Burnt that I really like with Bradley Cooper, where
Is that the Anthony Bourdain movie? Because Bradley Cooper has 2 movies where he plays a chef.
Yeah.
And in one he plays like Anthony Bourdain, but it's like Jeff Bourdain.
Yeah.
And then another one's Burnt, which is like a different movie, right?
Yeah, so Burn is the movie where he plays a chef where he was one of the best in the world, but he got it really young, and then his life fell apart. It's very much like The Bear.
Right.
But instead of going to like a shitty family restaurant, he started his own restaurant again with all the people that he had screwed, all the people he had burned.
And he's taller.
And and much taller. God, Bradley Cooper's like 6'2". But there's this line where he goes, if it's not perfect, send it back regardless of time. Mm-hmm. And so sometimes when we get busy, the chefs will send something out.
Yeah.
And I sound like the most pretentious piece of shit in the kitchen, because I'm like, I'm not serving that.
Right.
The chef is like, it's good. It's good. I go, chef, if it's not perfect, we send it back regardless of time. And he gets so, but he knows.
Because he knows you're right.
But because he knows he's going to do it. But he gets so angry because he's like,
Well, that's a special kind of anger. I'm angry at Brennan, and I'm angry at myself.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm angry at reality.
I'm just angry at everything right now.
Because I tried.
Yeah.
The steak doesn't know I tried.
But I mean, I tell people all the time, if it wasn't for comedy, I would definitely be a career star. I love it.
Yeah.
It's so funny when I get these office people that come in, because we do a pool house. So at a pool house, basically everyone in the front shares the tips. We split it equally. So if we're starting to slow down, they'll send the people who came in earlier home. So I'll go up to my tables and I'll be like, hey, they're actually going to send me home for the night. This is so-and-so. He's going to take over, he or she's going to take over your service.
Yeah.
If you need anything at all, let them know. Always do that so the guests know, because there's nothing more shitty in New York than sitting and then halfway through your meal you have a different server and you're like, wait, is this our server now? Like, who do I ask for the check? Like, so I always introduce.
I don't feel safe ordering dessert from you.
I don't know you. Where is Tyler? He was nice.
A name tag or identification.
And sometimes you'll get the finance like dickheads, and they're like, well, how long you been here? You're already going home?
Right.
And I was like, oh, well, I've been here for almost 6 hours. And they're like, 6 hours? I just worked for 12. And I always want to be like, yeah, well, working in a restaurant when you're on your feet, running around, and you have to multitask like 15 different things at once constantly is a little different than sitting at a desk all day.
You want to know who's on his phone? Is that fucking guy in his office. It's not a phone, though. It's a laptop. And he's looking at Twitter, and he's acting like he's getting fucking paid for it.
Yeah.
He's just getting straight paid well.
And it makes me, I want to be
He's getting paid enough to eat at your restaurant.
Yeah, exactly.
Doing jack shit.
I want to be like, yeah, well, what you do is you say, even in like, I understand high stress situations like finance, but it's like, but you're also getting paid hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Right.
I'm going to make, after tip out and tax, maybe $150, $200 a night. I'm going to go home.
Yeah.
Is that cool with you? I'm going to go.
Right. I'm realizing as much as you like your job, you're going to love your last day. Because something like this is going to be said. They're like, when's your last day, Brennan? I'm going to work until I get to do a monologue to some asshole.
Yeah.
And that will be my last day.
Well, and I think Soder's one of the only comics who openly talks about working in the service industry and then going straight into comedy full time. And he talks about it a lot. And it's like if I had a vision board, it'd be like him talking about it. Because he always talks about the last day. Because he was a lifetime restaurant guy like I am. And he was like, that last day where I got to put in my 2 weeks. Yeah. And I was like, I'm free. Because I love my job, but I love comedy more. So it's like, once I can transition into podcasting and comedy full time, everyone's going to get it. Everyone who's a piece of shit is going to get it.
I'm reminded of one of my old one-liners. I put in my 2 weeks notice. So I was like, why don't y'all notice how I don't do shit for the next 2 weeks? That is the best time in American life.
Oh, my God.
To be a short timer is the fucking best.
I think about that because I wrote a bit about talking about you put in your 2 weeks notice thinking that your boss is going to be like, oh, my God, no, what can we do to get you to stay? And then instead they're like, you can actually just clock out. But see, that's a good one, right? And that's happened to me before where I was like, I'm not getting respect. So I went to my boss. I was like, you know what? I'm done here. And they go, actually, we can just get your shift covered. You can go. And it's like, no. But every time I do that bit, I always think of you in the back of my head going, notice I don't do shit for 2 weeks.
I put in a 2 week email one time, like one of the times I quit. And I really hated my boss at that point. I wrote her like, I'm sad to go, except for the fact that I'm so happy to leave this place. And she was happy I was leaving too because she did not like me. She came into the office. She was like, man, it was like great for both of us.
Yeah.
She was like, man.
All of a sudden you're like best friends.
Yeah, she's like, that little jab. Oh, you. Get the fuck out.
I haven't actually quit. I haven't quit too many jobs. Because a lot of the jobs I had is when I was drinking. So I was like with Outback for 10 years. And then I got fired because I became a manager and my salary was garbage and I had relapsed because I was like, this sucks. Yeah. So I ended up it was one of those things where my big boss, like the guy who ran the whole region, was like, hey, if you come in drunk again, we're going to have to let you go.
Right.
So I guess technically I was terminated, but I was like, okay. And I still showed up drunk every day. So they were just like, yeah, you don't have a job anymore.
Dude.
So I don't know if that's quitting or getting fired because it's like, they told me not to do it.
It's kind of like passive aggressive quitting, right?
Yeah, that's what I figured.
But it was more about the drinking. Like you weren't like, oh, I'm going to get fired.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, I want to keep my job kind of and be drunk.
It's like, I don't care.
I want my body to be there, my brain not to be there.
Exactly. Yeah. But then a lot of other jobs, especially in my in my alcoholism, I would just stop showing up. So I guess I quit, but it wasn't like a formal like, hey, this is the last job that I actually put in a notice was when I was sober for a while and I really liked the job. It was the breakfast place I worked at, but we were getting ready to move to New York and I was like, listen, I can't do the morning job and the night job and get ready to move on top of comedy. And man, that's a sweet feeling when the boss is like, is there anything we can do to get you to stay? Because, it's the validation that I seek doing comedy.
Totally.
It's like, is there anything? Well, whatever schedule you want. Do you want to just work one day a week? Like, just work Sundays. Just work our busy day. Yeah. And I was like, no, I can't. And they're like, come on.
Well, because, and you know why. Yeah. You're like one person they can count on.
Yeah, because I care.
Right. And then they got like at least two guys that they're like, fuck.
Yeah, now
these guys are on today.
It happened.
How many fires am I going to have to put out?
Yeah, it happened with the lunch place. Yeah. I started working lunches and got an email. I've worked 2 weeks worth of shifts, and then I'm going into the third week. Got the email. Hey, Brennan, is there any way you could work a couple extra lunch shifts? Right. Nope. I can work 2. We agreed on 2. We talked about 2. I'm working 2. Yeah. Hey, Brennan, is there any way you can pick up some dinner shifts then maybe? Because I know you have set nights off from the steakhouse, and it's like, no, I have those set nights off to book shows and do stand up. Right. Hey, Brennan, and I was like, no.
Hey, they're texting you at like 1 a.m. You up?
Yeah. Yeah.
Can you come in tomorrow?
Can you work tomorrow? And I talked to my sponsor about it. I was like, I feel terrible because I'm a loyal guy, but I'm trying to set these boundaries. Because what ends up happening is I agree to it.
Yeah.
They don't think twice about it.
Right. They're on to the next thing.
They think I just want the money. And they're like, oh, we're doing him a favor by giving him this extra cash.
Yeah.
And then I'm so resentful because I'm like, fuck this place. Fuck these people. Nobody gives a shit. I'm missing X, Y, and Z to be here.
Yeah.
And I'm barely making any money. And then it just throws my whole spirituality and sobriety out of sync. Because it's
especially
like,
when you got to put on that smiling face walking up to the table. Hey, no problems in my life. No. How can I make yours better?
Yeah, we're great. Everybody good? Hello.
Went to a nice restaurant on Saturday night. My wife took me out. She did the whole I'm learning about the birthday weekend.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And she almost showed me what it's like. Like, here's what it's like.
I don't celebrate birthdays, and now since being with Tracy loves to celebrate. Right. So she made it like a thing. Like I walked into her apartment, she had streamers and banners up.
Right.
And, for that whole weekend, it was like, what do you want to do? It's your birthday. What do you want to do? And I was like, because I hate the passage of time. So I was like, I actually don't want to celebrate my birthday.
It sucks to get older. And you also I gotta, as much as I appreciate all the shit we did so much. It was so amazing. But all I need from a birthday is one day where it's an excuse to eat what you want.
Yeah.
Or it's my birthday. Yeah. Fuck it,
I get a Carvel cake. I buy myself a Carvel ice cream cake.
Right. That's really what it comes down to.
Yeah, that's all I want.
Eating.
That's what I want for my birthday. So for a long time, I just go out and buy myself one. You had a whole thing though.
And it's almost and my wife's intentions were not this is how it's done.
Yeah.
But it was still a fucking
this is how it's done.
It was a clinic, dude. It was Friday night because the concept of the birthday weekend I always laughed at. But it's Friday night we had but look at how it catered to me. Yeah. So it was we want to go see a movie. She's 8:30. I'm 7. You know? And then she's and then it's dinner. That means dinner's at 5. So it's 5 o'clock dinner, 80-year-olds. And then you go to a movie.
Underrated the 5 o'clock dinner.
Home by 10 o'clock, in bed by 11.
Hell yeah.
Fucking gorgeous.
What movie?
The Astroid City.
Okay.
Very.
Did you like it?
I liked it.
Okay.
I was very confused for about a half an hour.
It's Wes Anderson.
And then once I figured it out, I'm this is fun. Yeah. The funny thing about his movies is there's not a lot of urgency.
No, there's
just
no urgency.
It's low stakes.
Yeah.
Right?
Which I kind of like about it.
No, it's fun. It's fun, but it's also confusing as a movie viewer. You're when is the fucking stress start?
Yeah.
And it's just not that. It's just people examining their lives.
Yeah, just living.
Right. In a very visual way.
Yeah.
Saturday, just kind of worked on the podcast and then went to a great restaurant in Williamsburg called Salt and Charcoal, where it's Japanese steak with sushi and everything.
That sounds awesome.
We get hammered and start planning a party while we're drunk, to the point where when I woke up in the morning, I'm oh fuck, we're having a party tonight. And then I'm also going to a Yankees game. So my wife is do you want to not go to the Yankees game? I'm no, we're going.
Yeah.
We're doing this. We both feel like shit, but we're doing this. And totally glad I went. But it is funny. I'm not a big sports fan. I'm not a big baseball fan. I love going to a Mets game. The Yankees game is just this much different.
Yeah.
And if you're a New Yorker listening to this podcast, you're going to be yeah, duh, to all this shit.
But I don't know. So it's how you told me.
All I know of baseball is Camden Yards in Baltimore. Mm-hmm. It's our pride and joy.
Yep.
And it's really nice. Mm-hmm. It's borderline Disneyland in a way. It's it's nice. Mm-hmm. The colors are bright. The merchandise is cool. The food is good. And that's what the Mets stadium is like.
Yeah, because it's a newer stadium.
Right. No, it's not indoor. But
but the Mets thing is I know they spend a lot of money on getting good food in there and making it nice.
All that stuff.
That's
right,
what I'm saying,
yeah. I guess the Yankees is a little bit older or whatever because it's got a tint on it. Mm-hmm. You're watching a movie from maybe the early 2000s or something. It seems just this much older.
Yeah.
And the people are and it's not Mets or the Mets fans are some PG movie.
Yeah.
There's curse words, there's this. I saw Canadians acting like assholes at a Mets game.
That's insane.
So it's not it's not a safe place exactly. But the Yankees is
just a little bit worse.
Just a little bit more. Yeah. Yeah. So like, we're going to sit down, and I see who I'm sitting next to. This dude with like a big, not even a gold chain, like a chain, like someone you see in a weapon.
Yeah.
In like
a chain link chain.
Yeah, that's it. Like regular silver metal, huge. And he's just sitting there like at a baseball game, it's like airplane seats. Mm-hmm. They're these tiny little seats.
Yeah.
And dude's just like pouring out of it. Not only that, he's probably like 5'6", but he's got his legs like spread like this. And he's got his mitt. And like everything's like spilling over to my lap. Like his mitt will be on my lap. And I'm just like,
why do you have a mitt?
And I'm just like moving the mitt like kind of with my hand and stuff because I can tell this guy wants to go.
Like you do on the armrest on a plane.
Yeah, no, you're just playing little games.
Yeah.
Like within, because this dude, like I can tell, like I don't have it in me to like really stand up to this guy because it's not going to be like strike three.
Yeah.
It seems like once you see a chain around someone's neck, that it's like it's going to go down.
Yeah, he's looking for an excuse.
I know I can't take him.
Yeah.
I got too much to lose.
You're hungover.
I'm also hungover, sitting in the sun. So I take this beer I have, which felt really good, by the way. I'm like, oh, yeah, I get alcoholism again. Like, I always knew it.
Yeah.
But when I was experiencing it, I was like, oh, yeah, I feel better now that I drank this 24 ounces of beer.
Sense.
And I could stop right here, or I could, that's where it is.
Another.
So I put the fucking can on the side of my leg. So now if he wants to touch my leg with his leg, he's got to touch the can.
Yeah.
And for some reason, this is more of a deterrent than my actual leg.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, all right. And then it's like, oh man, we're having a party. So it's like I gotta get ready for the party. And luckily my wife knows what to do. This is like her fucking dream.
She loves it.
Last night, like in the middle of the party, like, we got away from everybody for a second. She was like, I don't know why we don't do this every weekend. Like she just loves.
When they, because I was expecting, because we've hung out at parties before at your place and at other friends of your wife's place, and I was expecting those people to walk through the door. Mm-hmm. And then 3 comics come in.
Yeah.
It's thank God Tracy was there, because Tracy and Kristen were talking.
Yes.
And then these 3 comics come in.
Yeah.
And Tracy immediately looks at me. She goes, do you know them? And I go, no, I don't know them. And she goes, but they're comics in New York. And I go, there's a million comics in. I was like, I don't know them.
Yeah.
And so then we ended up. It was so funny, too, because when your wife texted me about the get-together, she's like, hey, so we're doing this on Saturday, we're doing this on Friday, and then we're going to have people, or this on Friday, this on Saturday, and then Sunday we're going to have people over.
Yeah.
And I was
so you
like,
got the full schedule?
Well, I just got because she didn't know I was out of town.
Right.
So she was like, hey, this is what we're doing.
Right.
If you want to come meet up. So it was like, yeah, I'm going to take Matt out to a nice dinner. Then we're going to go to the Yankees game on Sunday. Let me know if you want to go. And then after that, we're going to have people over Sunday night.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah. So I was like, well, I'm out of town, but I'll be back Sunday. And she's like, oh, okay. But I'm looking at the text like, this is a lot for Matt. Because I know you're not like a big like events guy. So I was like, this is going to be a lot.
It got to be a lot the second I was hungover.
Yeah.
Because I really hate being hungover these days. I avoid it. I usually avoid it. But it was my birthday.
Yeah.
So I went for it.
And it was,
and it's a bad idea, but you do it anyway. And
she put out a spread too. We got there. There's like 3 pizza boxes and salad and chips and
there was Matt food.
Yeah.
There was wings.
Yeah, wings.
Joe's Pizza and salad.
Yeah.
I mean, I hope I'm not complaining.
Yeah.
That is like the meal. And guess what?
Good.
The meal continues. If you think I didn't have chicken wings for breakfast this morning, you're fucking crazy.
Your mind, yeah.
And I still have like an entire Joe's Pizza.
Hell yeah.
And she's about to go out of town and I'm about to get fat. I'm about to carb up, bro.
It was fun.
Yeah, it was fun. And it was just funny to plan the thing because it was that borderline thing where it's like, all right, we got Brennan.
Yeah. I was in.
It's like we can survive that way, like double date style.
Yeah.
But then it's kind of like, okay, once you start inviting more people, it's like you don't want that middle ground of like,
is this a party or is this?
Or if you invite somebody you don't know that well, and then they just show up, and now you're responsible for like.
Well, it's like we talked about with 2 weeks ago when you went to the dinner party.
Right.
It was one of those things where, I mean, obviously in the same kind of, but in a different way, because I was like, oh, it's Matt's birthday. Of course we're going. And so Tracy and I showed up. And then it was you and your wife, and I was just kind of like, oh, is it? In my head, I was like, I guess it's just us. Cool. But then I looked at all the food, and I go, oh, no, more people are coming. But you know me, I'm so anxious. I was like, I got there right at 7.
Right.
And so I was like,
I'm glad you did
more
because
people are coming.
Because I ordered the pizzas because I don't throw parties.
Yeah.
But I even checked it out with my wife. I'm like, 6:30, I'm going to order these pizzas. I go, because they don't always come on time, you know? It's like all the way in Williamsburg. And she's like, yeah. And then she's like so into the party. When the pizza showed up on time at 7, she was like kind of like mad at me for a second.
Yeah.
And I was like,
what's the food here
for? She goes, that's what the hors d'oeuvres are for. And I'm like, well, the pizza's here. The time for arguing is over. The pizza is here. I can't send it back.
You're holding it. She's like, no, that's what the salad is for.
And you know what?
Like,
and I barely ate all day because I knew I was having pizza.
Yeah.
So I'm like, guess what?
I'm going to eat.
Guess who's having a slice?
Yeah. As soon as we got there, you were like, you guys ready to eat?
Get it while it's hot.
Yeah.
Get it while it's hot.
We walked in like at 7:02, and I was like, yeah, actually, I haven't eaten a lot today because I was ready for this pizza.
You helped me realize something amazing just now, and that is like my wife invited like a ton of her friends.
Yeah.
And none of them showed up, which means I've been going to their shit for years.
Yeah.
You know? So now you'd be like, nah, I don't know. I think I could sit this
now
one
you
out.
could just be like, yeah.
Now, granted, we were inviting people at like 10 p.m. on Saturday while we're hammered for a Sunday party.
That's hilarious.
So, like, do we expect them to show up? No. But now I can play the outrage card.
Yeah.
5 years I've been going to these people's parties. Dressing up on Halloween.
Wearing costumes and suits.
Dressing like a goth on theme night. Like, just fucking the random
doing
shit.
trivia.
Right.
Playing the hat game. Where were you? Yeah, it was.
So now I get like one get out of jail free card.
Yeah, I was stoked because, like I said, she invited me and Tracy to the game, but we were traveling, so I was like, "There's no way, we're going to be able to make the game." And she was like, "Oh, well, maybe we can do something after."
Yeah.
And then it was interesting because when she had sent me that text originally, this was on Friday. It sounded like like just a chill hang thing.
Yeah.
And then I got there and saw all the food and everything. I was like, "Oh, this is turned into a party." So apparently Saturday night it turned into a party.
Yeah. And like I knew I was an asshole ordering 3 pies, but I wanted everybody to get at least 2 slices.
Oh yeah, I had 4.
There you go. That's what I said. I go. Brennan doesn't drink. He's gonna want to eat.
Yeah.
Like.
Well, I had one because I was like, oh, let's save it for how many people. And then when the 3 other guys showed up, I was like, well, there's only 7 of us here. I mean, I can have a couple more.
What's great about my party? You're allowed to use the toaster oven if you want to.
Yeah, that's
if you want to, you're allowed.
Chris was like, I like hot pizza. So it was, now, in retrospect, it was like a dig at you because you ordered the pizzas early.
Yeah.
She's like, well, I like hot pizza. So if anybody else wants to use the toaster oven, I was like, yeah. I mean, I like cold pizza, so I was just housing it.
I like pizza that I know it's there.
Yeah.
You know, it's a trade-off.
Yeah. Oh, it was fun, though. We were just talking. We were upstairs on the roof. We were talking about all sorts of stuff. It went from, like, comedy to, like, drinking to, like, me being sober to, like, back to comedy.
Yeah.
It was a fun time.
It was definitely a fun time. And it wrapped up, like, just in time.
Yeah.
Because one of the guys there is kind of a good-looking dude, and he gets paid. He used to get paid to, like... to go to like be at sex parties.
Oh, really?
Like all of a sudden it's all sex parties and it's like all dudes talking about sex parties and just my wife. And she's like trying to play it cool. So she's keeping the conversation going. And I'm like, what is this conversation?
Is that what happened after I left?
Yeah, they're just talking about like sex parties.
Well, it got to a point because Tracy's
like,
not used to hanging out with comics and like those kind of like, you know, us degenerates. So it got to and I looked at my watch and it was like 9:40 or 9:30, and I was like, I've got a busy day tomorrow. I looked at and I was surprised you were still like let's
that hangover was still strong.
Yeah, so I looked at Tracy and I was like, you not ready to get out of here? And she's like, yeah. And I was like, thank you so much for having us. We're out of here.
Yeah.
And I was like, hopefully you guys can pull the ripcord shortly after.
So fucking just happy you did that. Like I was like, oh man, he's pulling the ripcord.
Yeah,
he's starting
like,
this stuff. And I'm like, and that's right on time.
Yeah.
It already been like 2 hours.
Yeah, I got there at 7. It was now 9:30. I was like, this is...
You traveled that day?
Yeah.
I felt bad for you. I'm like, Brennan's our rock here. And he was on a goddamn airplane today.
It was so weird when we were... And then we took e-bikes to get home because the subway was it was construction or whatever.
Oh, okay. Wow.
Yeah, so we took e-bikes to get home, and I was looking at Tracy once we got to the house, and I go, it seems like today was like 3 different days. You know, when you have like that kind of stuff going on?
There's some days where in this life, especially if you live in New York City, where like you get in bed and you go... wow, today was amazing.
Yeah, I
like,
did
today
so
was
much.
like astronomical. People from 200 years ago could never understand it. Where I woke up in Florida, I went to a rooftop party in Brooklyn, then rode my bike to Astoria.
Yeah.
Like nutty shit.
And I got home, I was able to like. It was weird because it was one of those things. I was able to post the podcast, like put up the videos, post the Patreon because it always comes out early. So
and we care about you. You know, we care about you even after a party.
I got all that stuff done, and then I went to the gym, and then I got home, and then I got like some a couple other things done, and then went and met Tracy, and then we came to your place, and then biked home, and I was like, yeah, that's bananas to think like I woke up in Jacksonville, had breakfast with my grandma, and then I ate pizza on a rooftop in Brooklyn.
It is nutty. It is nutty. And it is cool.
Not to mention
really
everything else that got done. Yeah.
You know, I like the suburban life, but there's just some days in the city where it's like, holy
I talk about this ad nauseum.
Shit, did it go down today?
It's
all
so
at
much
once.
Fun. Yeah. It's the best. And it was funny because I joke around with Tracy a lot about moving back to Florida.
Yeah.
Just because, it's home. And so it's cool. Like you go down there and then like we got to hang out with like some of my comedy friends. I got to see my whole family, which was awesome. I don't see my nieces enough. And, I got to see them and we were all hanging out and having a good time. And we go into my grandma's apartment and she's got this it's a condo. She's a beautiful condo. And I turn to Tracy. I go, you know how much she pays for rent? And she goes, how much? I go, a little less than you.
That's what you're getting.
Yeah.
You're getting a lot.
And it's like 2 bedrooms. She has an office, a garage, a laundry room. She doesn't use any of it because she's 88, but like she has all this stuff. And like we're driving places and she's like looking at some of these beautiful apartments with these palm trees out there. And I go, yeah, it's probably like $1,000 a month. Right. And she's like, what?
And make no mistake, as much as I'm ranting and raving about these exciting days, there's nothing better than a suburban day where absolutely nothing happens and there's no stress.
Yeah.
That is the shit, dude.
It's so crazy to wake up and like go outside and like smell. And it's so like I took Tracy to her first Walmart. She'd never been because she grew up in the Northeast. She wasn't really used to that. And her family doesn't like chain stuff. So they like go to mom and pop places, which is awesome. Yeah. But like we went into a Walmart because we had to grab like 3 things that had nothing to do with each other.
There you go. It's better than Target.
Yeah. So I was like, well, let's just run into the Walmart real quick because we had to get like diapers, mints, and like something else.
Right.
And so we went in there and she was like, she was like, what is this?
Hold on. What's that, honey? I'm getting a booster for my vaccine.
Yeah. She's like stopping in every aisle. She's like, oh my God, they have this and they have that. And then we got out and then jokingly, because I worked at Outback for so long, when I was hanging out with my family the day of my older sister's baby shower, they were like, well, let's do dinner together. And so I just throw out, I was like, let's go to Outback because there was one right next to where my sister lives. And my twin was like, that's a great idea.
It is a great idea. I'm sorry.
Yeah. And I like, and then Tracy's like, I've never been to an Outback. And I was like, here we go.
Once you go Outback,
well, it's one of those things where it's like, it's the Jacksonville life. It's chains and Walmarts and driving a car down 95. And
that's what's so funny about being a city snob. Is finding out just how goddamn good the Cracker Barrel is.
How convenient it is. How consistent it is.
When you walk into Walmart, you see the light. Mm-hmm. You've heard all this terrible stuff about how they screw over their employees and it's a fucking punchline to half the jokes. You walk in there, it's like, hold on, I'm going to go get some sushi and then I'm going to pick up a lawnmower.
Yeah.
It's insanity.
I joked with her. I go, because it was, she goes, they have furniture here? I go, yeah. My entire college career, I would buy, they had a half, it wasn't even decent. It was the lowest bottom of the barrel futon, but it was something to sleep on, $150. Yeah. So I would just get that, put it in a box, take it home. And then when it broke, I'd go 6 months to a year later, I'd just go and buy another $150 futon. Came with the mattress, came with everything. Yeah, man. And it's like, you can't this is before Amazon was what it is and stuff. And it's like, yeah, you couldn't.
They got like a good return policy and everything.
You could bring in something open, broken, and everything and just be like, I want to return this. And they'll give you store credit, no questions asked. Yeah,
you'd have laughed. You saw me at Walmart the day before Thanksgiving last year. This is in Kentucky. I'm rolling around and I don't want to be there. Yeah. In fact, I remember, just side note, the other brother, my sister-in-law's husbands were like, what are you guys going to Walmart for? I'm like, I don't know. Check this out. I'm married. Hey, honey, what are we going to Walmart for? And she said, because that's the last thing you want to do is go anywhere the day before Thanksgiving.
It's a mess.
But I'm just like, fuck it. I'm in this. I'm doing this. Yeah. I go there. I'm dumbfounded. It's one of those parts where you realize, because I don't go to Walmart that much, where I'm like, this is amazing.
Well, they don't have them in the city.
None of that. I was small town in it, as I like to call it. I was talking to strangers.
That was the other thing.
I was talking to
greeters, and
strangers.
Tracy was like, "Do you know those people at the front? Why did they say hi to you?"
Yeah.
And I go, "That's literally their job.
That's their job. They're greeters. Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And she was like, "What?"
Right. And then I saw this white dude go after this Latino dude, and he was kind of like giving him shit. And then he was like, just kidding, dude. And they're like hugging, and I'm like, oh, they're not even racist. This place ain't so bad.
Oh man, it was. I was doing my Trump impression.
Yeah.
Everyone's dying.
Right,
my
right.
twin sister's like, "You need to do more impressions on stage." I was like, I don't.
I love you, but I'm not taking advice from you.
But it was just one of those things where it was kind of cool. And I say this about the Star Wars stuff because I have her watching all the Star Wars movies because I love them. It's so interesting to see it from someone else's eyes who has never seen it before. And it was the same thing being in the South because this was probably one of the best moments because, she's a Jewish girl from the Northeast. She doesn't have any concept of like the only time she's been to Florida is on vacation.
Right.
I might be speaking out of turn. She'll listen to this and be like, "Oh, that's not true. That's not what but my point is like to see her be like, yeah, it's not what I was expecting.
No, because we are
the punchline.
Negative stuff is in the news.
Yeah.
Of course, there's so many Walmarts. Every day there's going to be a Walmart fight.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and
but they do that at the airport now, too.
Yeah.
It's not just Walmart.
And it's, we have a lot of the politics of the state can be, it's a swing state, so sometimes it's good and sometimes it's fucking horrible.
Right, but you always see the worst person trending online.
It's the worst representation of the state.
Most people are a mix of politics.
Yeah, and
it's gotten crazy over the past 8 years.
Yeah.
But if you talk to people one-on-one, they don't seem that crazy.
Yeah, nobody's. And
I don't see that crazy to them.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, because you're just discussing
We're just
something.
talking, yeah.
But it was really cool for her to be like, because when we first got together, I would joke about once I get a manager and an agent, I'm back to Florida.
Yeah.
51% of the time, baby, no state income tax. Come on. 51%. I'll have an apartment up here, but 49%.
But I'll live down there. Yeah.
And she was so against it, railed against it. And then after this trip, she was kind of like, well, I wouldn't want to move there, but if you really wanted to, I could see. And I was like, got him.
Of course you
it's
could.
Great, man.
Not that she's from the Northeast. That's like a Northeast New York thing to do.
Yeah.
Is move to Florida.
That's what she refused to believe it before she went there. And then after this trip, she was kind of like, she wasn't like gung ho about moving there, but she was definitely less ambivalent about it.
And she's going to meet a lot of people that are from New York there.
Oh, so many from New York and Boston and Massachusetts, the whole.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've got all those people.
And it's still fucking crazy. Florida's crazy.
It's nuts. Well, because I took her to the spots. Yeah. There are spots where I could take her to and she'd be like, oh, we need to get out of here right now. But, you avoid, like when people come to visit us, we don't take them to East New York.
Right. We don't. No,
we're going to go to 34th Street.
Exactly. We're going to do the fun shit. We're going to the M&M store.
Yeah. Right, we're going to go to Washington Square Park when all the cops are there.
Do you hear there was like a riot in Union Square?
I saw it on my Citizen app. It popped up when I was back home.
So I don't understand it completely. I just heard about it secondhand from my wife. Apparently some big YouTuber was giving out some free shit and everybody went there to get free shit and it just went bonkers.
Wow.
Which, again, I don't know the details. I shouldn't have brought it up on the podcast, but it's just like mayhem. Because if people want like a free video game console or something.
Insane.
I know. I would hate to be in the middle of that.
That happened with, obviously totally different context, but when a lot of the protests were going on back home, I obviously worked very close to the courthouse downtown.
Right.
And it'd be one of those things where everything's fine, it's peaceful, we're marching, everything's good. And then one thing of tear gas comes in and it literally turns into World War III to a point where it's never something I experienced growing up in the United States. My grandmother's from a war-torn country, and she talks about growing up during war and stuff, but you're always just kind of like, all right, Grandma,
it seems
chill.
like a cartoon.
It seems so foreign, like a TV show. And then when that happened and people start screaming and running and it's just that fight or flight kicks in and you're like, I have to survive. And so I get these updates on my phone. I got the update about the influencer causes riot. And I was like, I've been in the middle of those. And it's terrifying because people have no concept of decency in that moment.
That's so 2023. Influencer causes riot a mile from here.
Well, there was something 2 weeks ago in Central Park where it was like 600 protesters in Central Park. And I live 2 blocks from there.
Right.
So I was like, wait, what's going on? And it's like, I'm 2 blocks, but I might as well be in the fucking New Jersey. Like, it's like just that centrally located thing.
Yeah.
But it's don't get the Citizen app if you're listening. It's terrible.
Yeah, because you've texted me before, like, "Hey, are you alive?"
Yeah, like, are you good?
The gunshots in my neighborhood, which does happen.
I'll get notices like, yeah, Greenpoint, firefighting Greenpoint. I'm
Right.
like, oh God.
Right. Yeah, and then I looked it up, and it's like 2 people shot, and it's sad. Like it's sad. We're in a time where like, oh, it's just 2 people.
Yeah.
We're in a time where it's comforting to hear, oh, that's just gang violence.
Yeah.
You think about how absurd that is? Oh, that's nothing to worry about. That's just gang violence. Because we're so used to people shooting up places for no reason.
Yeah.
That we're like, oh, but there was a reason.
Yep.
You know, not a good one, but
it's still a reason.
Something we can wrap our head around.
Yeah, because
so,
it's
thank God.
Yeah, the unprompted violence is something that I still think about it all the time. Like when I'm a dark person, I think about negativity sometimes, which is why we do the podcast. To get positive,
keep ourselves honest.
But there's some times where I'll just be in the subway and you'll see someone who doesn't look stable walking around, and you just go, they could kill everyone here.
Yeah.
If they wanted to,
right?
There's nothing I could do about it.
Yeah.
And then there's other times too, though, where it's weird because it's just one of those things where, like, at any given moment, something could just happen, and we've just become accustomed to it.
Yeah.
But the flip side is someone could get into an argument with someone and smack them in the face, and then Citizen's going to be like, someone assaulting everyone in like this station. It's like,
sure.
Well, okay, now you're doing what we talked about earlier, where you're exaggerating it for effect.
Yeah, it's still a good app though.
Yeah,
because if you're going to go somewhere, like Union Square,
I tell people not to get it, but I love having it.
I think you do.
Yeah,
I think it's pretty smart.
Because you just know
that's one place that you just wouldn't want to be. Goddamn Union Square. It's crazy enough.
And I have my location marked on there, like where my house is, like my apartment.
Yeah.
So a lot of times, like before, like if I'm getting ready to go out to do like a late spot, it's like 10 or 11 at night. I'll check it because it's like, all right, is there someone out there like flipping out? 2 weeks ago, there's a fruit stand guy like right on our corner, and someone just kicked the shit out of him. And I knew it, but as I was going down, it came up on my Citizen app. And as I walked outside, the cops were there, and he was like getting up, and I was like, "This just this app is so."
It's on it. It's like a pound of bricks just fell on your head.
Yeah.
Fuck!
Damn.
Yeah, maybe I'll get that app. I kind of enjoy being oblivious.
Yeah, I mean, it's nice to be oblivious. But then again, it's one of, like, I mean, I've been trying to convince my uncle to come up to New York forever. And he's always just like, yeah, eventually. It's like my aunt finally told me when I was there this past time, where she's like, yeah, he doesn't want to go.
No, he doesn't. There's like certain news programs that are like, you do not want to go to New York. It's the end of the world. San Francisco. Yeah.
And I'm like, it's not that bad.
No, because there's so many people there. The numbers are in your favor.
That's the other thing, too, is everything's so skewed. Like,
and
I said,
most people are cool as shit.
Yeah, so many. Like we talked about earlier with like the people I work with from all over the world, just trying to make it, and it's insane. Not even make it in the sense of like I'm going to be an artist or famous, or they just literally are like, well, I could work 2 jobs here, and then my family gets to live super comfortably back home.
Exactly. So it's like all of us are going to work. We're all going to get jobs. We're going to run a bodega. Like it's happening. We're doing this shit.
There's one guy I work with, and it's insane. He works at our restaurant 3 days a week. Then he works at another like nightclub as a barback 5 days a week. He's there till 7 a.m, sleeps for like 4 hours. Then 3 days a week he comes into the restaurant from like 3 to 9 or 3 to 10. And then at like 10 or 11 goes to the club and is there till 7. And I'm like, dude, that's insanity.
I know.
And
you just get used to it, though.
Yeah, but I was like, do you have any free time? He's like, well, I get 1 day off a week, like completely off. He's like, but what do my wife is back home. Like, I have no reason. Like, what am I going to do?
Yeah.
He's like, I can still sleep 6 to 8 hours. Like, I can still, play my video games sometimes. But other than that, like, there's nothing else I want to do. I want to provide.
He's at the point in his life, too, where it's like, if he's not getting paid, he's like, what am I doing awake?
Yeah. Why am I not getting paid for that? And I couldn't imagine just those checks, man. That's got to be insane.
Yeah, it's awesome.
To work that much.
Yeah. I think that's going to do it.
Beautiful.
For the Power of How. Come see us in Philly, October 6th and 7th. Details at thefullcharge.com and patreon.com/The Power of How podcast.
Yes.
Pledge $1, $2, $5, $10, $25.
And thank you to the people who are already pledging on there.
Yeah. And
we gotta make a list. We'll make a list so next time
we should give shout outs.
Yeah.
Shout outs.
Shout
I sound
outs.
like I'm reading off a cue card. We should give shout outs to the fans. I feel like I'm in a local commercial. Thanks for listening. See you later.
Peace.
Thanks for listening to The Power of How. Music by Daniel Torado, artwork by Nelson Diaz. Follow us on all the social medias at The Power of How Podcast. Rate, review, and subscribe, and check us out at patreon.com/The Power of How Podcast. Send us some positive vibes in the form of U.S. currency. See you next week, everybody.